Hey everyone, it's Heidi with Broadmeadow Farm, and today I thought I'd update you on what's been going on here in the month of May and where the garden's sitting here in the first week of June. So let's go take a look. So here behind me we've got the 4 rows of strawberries that I planted a couple of weeks ago, and I'll share the link in the description down below for the video on that one. But they are coming along amazing. Because we are living on such an exposed site with no trees and it's been really windy, we opted for drip irrigation. And the beauty of that is it can be hot, it can be windy, and I'm still getting the moisture down there for the strawberries. Roughly the first week of May is when I planted most of my vegetable garden. And here behind me I've got my peas. We have some great neighbors down the road, and they've given us 5 pea fences that they weren't using, and they've filled just about my entire garden. Arlen will have to build me a couple more pea fence, but the really nice thing about these strong ones is that the peas are going to be able to vine up and support those heavy loads later in the season. Also behind me, I've got my onions. They're starting to come really nicely. This year I grew them from onion sets. That's probably the easiest way you can grow onions. I did do a couple seed starts of some red onions, but they're still very tiny and a little bit hard to see on the video. So potatoes are the biggest crop that we grow here because we've got such growing boys and they eat potatoes like crazy, and so they are coming up nicely here as well. The raspberries that I planted a couple weeks ago, they're also doing quite well, and the saving grace again is the drip irrigation. It's just so windy out here that things are drying out and I can't keep enough water to them. So with the drip irrigation, again, just like the strawberries, I can have them being watered when the weather is windy like this. When you start putting overhead sprinklers up, you lose way too much water to the air, and it's such a waste. So drip irrigation all the way for the win. So this past weekend, Arlen and I and the kids were able to work really hard on this chicken run. There was 2 things that we needed to do. We needed to create a chicken run so they could get outside and enjoy the sun, and also just have a bit more room to run around. And the other thing I needed to get going was a roost bar. And the roost bar is so that they have a place to sleep in the evening. They're getting pretty big, but they haven't quite learnt yet about a roost bar. So I'm hoping in the next little week, month, maybe they'll start learning to get up there. Biggest issue in a chicken run and pen is that there's always poop to deal with. And so this year I've built I guess you call it a poop tray underneath the roosts, because the primary time that they're creating lots of mess is while they're sleeping. Especially in the winter, you'll get a bit of a mountain underneath the roosts. So I'm hoping this poop tray will be able to be a place that I can collect it and get it out of the coop on a every other day or maybe a weekly basis. So here I've got the top roost bar and then the second one. And what I've done is I've opened some feed sacks so that I can collect that mess, and then I can just take the feed sacks, fold them up, carry them out, and dump the poop into a compost pile. You can see they're growing quite big already. We're still got a little while till they'll be starting to lay eggs. I'm starting to notice a few for sure are roosters. This one here is a rooster for sure, and there's a couple more in the bunch. So I guess we will be having to decide what we'll do with all of those. So out here in the chicken run, we used an old dog kennel from my brother, and that's why the door is like this. We've turned it upside down. What the kids in Arlen did is they dug a trench the whole width of the pen. Then they sunk the chain link down about, 6-ish inches, and they lined the entire perimeter with rocks, and then we covered it up with soil. Our whole hope is that with that, no foxes will be able to dig in. And with having no trees or anything around the property, we're working on creating a roof here so that they'll have a little bit of sun protection, and then in the winter there'll be snow protection, and hopefully they'll go outside. Temporarily, we'll probably just put a tarp over the top and possibly just that north side to keep the wind at bay. It's not too hot out right now, so they are actually enjoying it out here. But during the heat of the day, it's just too hot, so they're still sticking around inside. Our cover crop of barley is coming up lovely here on the grass. I've started to see a couple random little blades of grass peeking through, but the nice thing is that it did germinate with the rain, and hopefully in the next couple weeks we'll get some more rain and all that grass will start to grow. The other area I've been working on quite a bit here is this flower bed in the middle of the driveway. It's the only area that I know for sure I wanted to have a flower bed. With the rest of the yard yet, I haven't done a good landscape layout or anything like that. But this was a really nice place that I could start putting some perennials and getting some of my fun stuff out to enjoy. But because you can see my hair is flying, this is kind of how windy it is. It's been all spring, so it's important to make sure that everything has been staying watered in. But again, I want things to be durable here, so I only baby them for the first week or two after planting, and then they're on their own to survive, because I figure a perennial has to live without a lot of water because you don't have the energy or maybe even the hoses or anything to keep a bed like this watered, especially in the wind like this. The neat thing about the rock that we've got in this flower bed is that was actually dug out of the hole for our basement. So that's been kind of a neat thing to put out here in the flower bed as well. One of the big projects we did about a week and a half ago is we actually got all of the siding taken off the house and it's now wrapped. We're slated to be getting new siding probably late summer, early fall. I'm not quite sure where our sider has us in his schedule. He's quite a busy guy, but I'm looking forward to getting some siding here on the house. It looks a lot better with the new wrap on it than it did with the old siding though. So there's lots that's been going on here around the yard. It's a lot of grunt labor, a lot of weeding, just a lot of work right now, but we're really happy with how things have been progressing. And this weekend we'll put in a window in the garage. We've still got 2 windows on order to put in on the north side of the house. Those ones are still original, and we have to make sure we get those windows in before the siding goes in. And then after this following week, then we'll be able to start concentrating on getting my commercial greenhouse going. And that's very exciting for me. It's been sitting in storage for about 1.5 years, and it's time to get it back up. And so we'll definitely follow along if you want to see what it looks like going in and the process to be putting in a big greenhouse like that. It's going to be a little dicey, especially with the wind like this when we eventually want to put the plastic over top. Any wind like this and it will take off like a parachute. So we'll definitely be waiting for a super calm day to be putting that plastic up. So thank you for popping in this week and checking out what my garden looks like. And we'll see you next week with an update of where we're at.